tethered by the leg day and night, barren and dirty enclosures, stress caused by confinement and being handled by the public. These are just some of the conditions an undercover investigator from Freedom for Animals found in falconry centres across the UK. These shocking findings show that since we launched our Tether and Torment campaign in 2018, very little has changed regarding the conditions birds are held in at bird of prey zoos. For our latest investigation, we placed an undercover investigator as a volunteer in 3 zoos: Terbury Woods Owl and Bird of Prey Centre in Lancashire, English School of Falconry in Bedfordshire, and Ebbw Vale Owl and Bird of Prey Sanctuary in South Wales. Restraining birds by the leg is known as tethering and can cause stress and injury as the birds fight against the restraint. It is commonly used as a way to display birds, and while all birds suffer while tethered, owls and vultures are particularly unsuited to this. Government guidelines say that birds should not be tethered permanently and must be flown at least 4 times per week. But our investigator discovered birds at one zoo who were tethered day and night, cruelly preventing natural behaviours. Terbury Woods may have stopped tethering birds since Freedom for Animals campaign in 2018, but the other 2 zoos we investigated continue to restrain birds in this way. For those birds used in flying displays, some were underfed in order to enhance their performance, with staff and volunteers describing it as tantamount to starvation.
They used to double feed them on a Sunday, then tell me not to feed them on Monday. I said, you better not double feed them on a Sunday because I'm going to feed them anyway on a Monday. You can kiss my ass. You want to starve them, take them home and starve them. I'm not starving any of the birds. It's not happening.
Do they fly better if they're underweight then?
Well, yeah, because they're really hungry.
The majority of birds across all sites lived in barren enclosures with minimal, if any, enrichment. At 2 of the zoos, the government zoo licensing authorities had previously found many aviaries to be in a dilapidated state, even finding some to be at imminent risk of collapse, yet these conditions persist. We found several instances where staff or volunteers did not regularly clean enclosures or top up fresh water, despite being previously ordered to do so by government zoo inspectors. One zoo failed to provide clean water for some birds to drink or bathe, claiming they get all the moisture needed from food.
Yeah, so their hydration comes from their food.
At Ebbw Vale, our investigator was told that rats had been found in the area used for medical rehabilitation and storage of medication, accessing the space through gaps in the floor.
This cupboard has to be kept locked because we get visitors of rats. They like to help themselves to all the food and stuff. Or they skip. First came in and they were in the nut box that was up on there. She opened the nut box, first she opened the nut box. 2 jumped out and ran off. The other one went up her sleeve, all the way around here and come out her neck. I was outside screaming and she was on her own, mate.
Birds showed chronic stress from confinement, exploitation and neglectful conditions, including visitors being allowed to handle or stroke them. Tethered birds were seen chewing their leg straps and picking at their jesses as they had no other enrichment, as well as displaying baiting behaviour, attempting to fly away while tethered. Public display and handling was witnessed at all 3 zoos, with many birds showing distress behaviours. We found widespread breeding of birds across all centres we investigated, with little evidence that it contributed to conservation efforts. Instead, breeding was used to produce tame birds for display, public handling, or to sell to private owners. Only a small proportion of birds were of species classed as conservation concern, undermining claims that breeding was for conservation purposes. At Ebbw Vale Owl and Bird of Prey Sanctuary, barn owl chicks were separated from their parents at around 10 days old and raised in a noisy staff room, with different volunteers taking them home to feed overnight. This intensive taming provides birds who are easier to manipulate and use in shows and displays at the zoo. Volunteers at Ebbw Vale told our investigator that hand-reared owls were sometimes sold to the public.
And is she going to a good home? Yeah.
Well, I don't personally know the woman, but does, because she's so tame. She doesn't behave like an owl. She behaves like she wants to be in funerals. So for a pet, that's ideal. You don't want a wild owl around children. She's so affectionate, she prefers to be with humans and other owls.
Sign our pledge to never visit a bird of prey centre or display. Join our campaign to fully ban the tethering of birds of prey. Visit our website today to learn more and order a free campaign pack.